it's not that the election was rigged per se by the states or the vote counters or mail-in ballots. It's that it was essentially rigged by CNN, Los Angeles Times, New York Times, most all legacy and mainstream media, and then big tech, all the Googles and the and Twitter and all that. It was rigged by them, essentially. And if you really think about it, it's not much hyperbole.
All right, let's talk about the election a little bit. I'm just giving you like the whole landscape of all the craziness of the world. The election, where are you at this point? Apparently, Joe Biden is the president-elect. I don't think you voted for Joe Biden, did you? Did you officially announce who you voted for? I know where you're at politically, but did you actually say it on your show?
No, but I would definitely vote for Trump over Biden.
Yeah.
The interesting take on it, which isn't insanely impressive in terms of the math, but sort of what Ben Shapiro has always been talking about for the last several weeks, which is it's not that the election was rigged per se by the states or the vote counters or mail-in ballots. It's that it was essentially rigged by CNN, Los Angeles Times, New York Times, most all legacy and mainstream media, and then big tech, all the Googles and the and Twitter and all that. It was rigged by them, essentially. And if you really think about it, it's not much hyperbole. I mean, if you think about just the Hunter Biden story as an example, and you go, okay, and forget it's Hunter Biden and forget what the allegations are and forget anything. Let's just be generic. There is a story. It's a credible story, and it would hurt one candidate. And I don't know if that means 3 points or 7 points, or I don't know what it would translate into, but it would definitely be damaging to one of the candidates. So in our hypothetical world, there's A candidate and B candidate, and B candidate would definitely be hurt by a story that comes out several days before the big election. And then all the legacy news organizations and then Silicon Valley, they all conspire to crush a story and are saying things like Russian disinformation or there's no proof whatsoever. So that story never comes out. Well, I would argue that is tampering with the election. It's certainly affecting the election. I mean, I guess if you say, what's the definition of tampering with an election? I guess the definition would be affecting the election one way or the other for this candidate or that candidate. So they were all on board to do this. They always do this thing. It's funny when the smartest people in the world, the Silicon Valley guys, go, oh, yeah, we didn't know what was going on with that thing. We made a mistake.
Yeah.
It's like,
we're going to get better processes. We should have looked at that before.
Right. You didn't know, huh? And by the way, it's pretty simple. They found a laptop, had a bunch of information on it. Might you have some follow-up questions, or we just announced that's Russian disinformation? So you had a whole group of people, and when I say a group, I mean most 90% of the media, essentially running interference for one of the candidates, and all the way through. Just, the COVID vaccine's never going to come out before the end of the year, et cetera, on every single story. That's going to translate into a few points. And that is the tampering.
Do you think there's anything left at this point in terms of mainstream media? Like, I think if my one takeaway probably of the year, beyond lockdowns and the way we give up freedoms and all that, but like my one sort of tangible takeaway is that there's simply nothing left in mainstream media. That doesn't mean that 100% of reporters are all bullshit artists, but I think the way they treated the Hunter Biden story, then the way we were immediately told not to look at anything related to election fraud, and if we did, we're basically Alex Jones and everything else. Like, to me, there's nothing left. Washington Post, New York Times, CNN, like, it's just done. Am I over the top?
Well, there's something left, but the question is what did they do to their brand? So if you think about what the Oscars means in 2021 versus the Oscars from our childhood. First off, it was appointment viewing, get the whole family, see who the best picture of the year, and the best picture of the year that was the best picture of the year. I mean, we didn't argue about it, and we didn't think there was any politics involved, and it just was. And by the way, when you look at the ratings for these shows, you realize it ain't what it used to be by a long shot. And I'll give you a couple examples. So think about the Oscars. Think about the Emmys. Think about how I did a little experiment around here. I have young people who work for me. I said, if you heard a story out of CNN 5 years ago, what would you have thought? And they went, I would have believed it. And I'd say, what do you think now? And they go, I'd have to go look into it. So CNN, New York Times, all the entities you mentioned, but also Oscars, Emmys, maybe the NBA, Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
You see Hillbilly Elegy. Oh, it's 24% with the critics, but 88% with the people. Oh, what a shocker. No Safe Spaces is, I don't know, 44% with the critics and 90% with the people. Yeah. So no, we no longer have to we don't have to find out what the critics have to say on Rotten Tomatoes because it's skewed. Everything is skewed. And whoever wins the Oscar is going to be, he's the black gay teen who's struggling with his sexuality. It's like, okay, I get it. And by the way, when you do that, you are shaking hands with the devil. You really are in terms of your brand. Mm-hmm. The Oscars should have never let all this super woke shit in because once you announce we now need 50% people of color nominated for the best actor, it's over.
It's over.
We stop. We go, well, were they the best actors or is they just meeting a quota?
By the way, Adam.
So they're shooting themselves in the foot.
But the best part of it is they decided to put all these quotas in about, skin color and sexuality and, if you're a midget or you have a lazy eye or whatever, except they said, we're not going to do it for 3 years. It's so important to solve racism and sexism, but we still have some stuff in the can. So we got to get that racist crap out of the way, and we'll do it. We'll do it in 3 years. You mentioned No Safe Spaces, so I'm sure most of my audience has seen it already. But when you think back to the project, because you guys you and Dennis and the team probably started working on this thing, like 4 years ago, maybe something like that.
Yeah.
When you think back to the project, I mean, it basically everything, and I'm not just saying it because we both happen to be in it, but everything that No Safe Spaces is about, which in essence is that all of this woke craziness from the college campus is going to leak into real society. It's what everyone sees now, and we were all told we were racists and bigots and the rest of it for talking about it. Are you like impressed that we kind of called it, or are you depressed that we kind of called it, or just is what it is? Because we called it. We all called it. Now everyone knows that is the stuff that is happening everywhere right now.
Well, first off, how could it not?
Yeah.
Like, what if your kid leaves for college and then every one of their professors is a vegan and then they're teaching classes on meat is murder. Don't tell your chef husband because he makes a delectable Wagyu, I think we have. Is it Wagyu?
By the way, did I hear correctly on your podcast? I think the day or two after you came over here for dinner, I think you said it was the best steak you ever had.
It was, man. So kudos to you for living with that dude.
Hey, I handled the steak. I was doing the steak.
Oh, damn, you're right.
I did the
you're
steak.
Right.
You were there when I was flipping it, man. He did the sides.
I had a couple of scotches at that point. Sorry, Dave. You get all credit to Dave Rubin for doing the steak. But what the hell were we talking about? And I forgot about
that. If you send your kids to these schools and they're being taught by vegans.
Oh yeah. Okay. So everyone's a vegan and meat is murder. How long before your kid starts coming home for Thanksgiving and saying no thanks to the turkey because meat is murder? And then when those kids in their vegan environment get pushed out into Main Street and Madison Avenue and start showing up at corporations, how long before they start judging people for eating a ham sandwich? And how could it go any other way? Of course it's going to go that way. I mean, you go to this place where a bunch of ideology is taught to you, and then the construct, or at least college, is basically there to, I mean, if you think about what is the mission statement for a college? Well, you go to this place for 4 years. We teach you a bunch of stuff, and then you take that with you into society, right? Well, we just thought it was going to be a bunch of engineering and calculus and, art history. We didn't know it was going to be an indoctrination to a bunch of ideas, but it is. And I would argue those ideas are more powerful than engineering are, because you can't just walk into your new job at Kinko's and start talking to everyone about structural engineering or shear loads or tension anchors or something. It's not going to take. But if you start talking to everyone about your ideology, then it's going to spread. And that's exactly where we're living.
If you're looking for more honest and thoughtful conversations about comedy instead of the nonstop yelling you get everywhere else, check out our comedy playlist. And if you want to watch full interviews on a variety of topics, check out our full episode playlist. They're both right over here. And to get notified of all future videos, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell.